Hey everybody, and welcome to today's January Prep webinar presented by Rutgers and NJ Health. And today's topic is Banishing Burnout by Exploring Self-Care. Our presenter is Giovanna Giacobbe from Rutgers University. This presentation is sponsored by the New Jersey Department of Health, Division of Behavioral Health Services, and Rutgers Institute for Inpatient Psychiatric Rehabilitation. We'd like to welcome you, and this is an interactive training, and so we encourage you to ask questions and participate throughout the session. A recording of this webinar will be made available after the presentation on the Rutgers Spree website, which Jen will drop in the chat towards the end of the presentation. And just a disclaimer, the Psychiatric Rehabilitation Educational Program, or PrEP, is an online forum for a variety of topics relevant to state psychiatric hospital staff. While Rutgers and DBHS are co-sponsors of this program, the PrEP webinars are peer presented, and as such, content is independently developed by the presenter each month. The views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any of the entities they represent.
Dawn, before you go on, I got a message that someone can't hear. I just wanted to make sure that other people can hear. If somebody could just drop something in the chat box, let me know if I can hear. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, thank you. So, to the person who sent that message, check your own connection. You might need to log out and come back in and check your connection to the audio. Thank you. Sorry.
Sure. No, thank you for that. And we just want to mention, just as a reminder, as with all of our PrEP webinars, so we can air it later, so you can review it later, this session is being recorded. With that, I'd like to introduce my colleague, Giovanna Giacobbe.
Hi, everyone. Welcome. So I'm a senior training and consultation specialist for Rutgers University. My area of specialty is in trauma and PTSD. And for the past probably few years since the pandemic started, I've been asked to do presentations on self-care and burnout. I also work for the state psychiatric hospitals in New Jersey, and I'm doing trauma programming over there, implementing trauma-informed care. I'm also a co-investigator on a few PTSD research studies, and I also teach a trauma course to our master students in psychiatric rehabilitation and counseling professions. If you want more information, you can visit our website. So our learning objectives today, we are going to define what self-care is, what resiliency is. We're going to recognize personal signs of burnout and secondary traumatic stress. You're going to discover ways to build resilience, and we're going to explore self-care options, and you're going to also have the opportunity to create a self-care plan at the end of the presentation. So I wanted to start out with, well, saying that preaching resilience and self-care does not heal trauma, it promotes survival. So I don't want to start off the presentation saying like, you know, do self-care and everything's going to magically go away. So I don't want this presentation to minimize or invalidate your experiences, you know, your work stressors or anything like that. So this is really about, you know, being able to explore self-care options as a way to manage some of this stress. But it's not just going to magically go away by doing self-care. So let's say resilience is often essential to our survival, but it doesn't mean we aren't suffering, okay? Self-care can help us to cope, but it doesn't always change the current environment that might be causing the real issues or challenges in life. And we're going to explore that a little bit more in the presentation. Self-care isn't meant to minimize or ignore the real personal or work-related issues in your life. So I wanted to start this off with a quiz. So I think Jen is going to put up that quiz. Yes. So how can self-care help us? So according to the National Institute of Health, of health, please check off all the ways self-care can help us. So if everybody could interact and check off the ways self-care can help us. So how do you think self-care can help us?
So you're seeing some live I'm seeing some live results because I'm the one looking at the poll. But as soon as those responses stop coming in, I will share and we can see the final
Okay.
tally for each one.
Thanks. So you're seeing it come in now, Jen?
I'm seeing it coming now. We have about 80% participated.
Okay.
So when that slows down, then I'll share the responses.
Okay.
So we're at 3, or you tell me, if you think that's enough, I can share now.
Yeah, you can share. It's fine.
83. So I'm going to end the poll and I'm going to share the results.
Okay. Okay. Great. So we look like we got 100% for some of these. So play a role in maintaining your mental health. It definitely plays a role in maintaining your mental health. It supports treatment and recovery from mental illness. So that was one of the things is like, I hope that this presentation you can also bring back to the patients and clients that you serve. So this is not just solely for the providers, but also, self-care is important for our patients. It can improve your physical and mental health, definitely. It takes away all your stress. I would say it doesn't take away all your stress. It definitely doesn't. The stress is going to be there, but it helps us to cope better. It definitely helps us to manage our stress. It lowers your risk of illness. That's definite. It makes you selfish. Many people think that, if they engage in self-care, they're selfish, or people will call them selfish when they put boundaries, and boundary is self-care. So it does not make you selfish. You are not selfish for engaging in self-care. And it can increase your energy. So all of these things can help us when we're trying to manage stress. Okay. So what is self-care? Who wants to put it in the chat? Well, put it in the chat. What do you think self-care is? And then I will go on and explain it a little further. So what's self-care, or what is self-care to you? Anything coming in the chat, Jen?
We have breathing. Sorry, it's
breathing.
Dawn.
Sorry.
Tom
Breathing.
says, Tom, you have to change your chat to everyone, not just hosts and panelists. But he said doing things with intention.
Yes,
that
definitely.
will help his mood.
I love that someone said breathing. Oh, we are going to get into the breathing. Breathing is a big one. Go ahead. Anyone else?
Anything that helps you relax and de-stress and take care of your whole self. I put that in the chat too. I said balance, like work, family, other parts of your life, like finding a good happy medium, being able to vent, anything that helps you to decompress, relax, or have fun. It helps with restorative, being able to manage your own health, knowing your triggers and how to avoid them, care for our entire selves, including mind and spirit, remembering to be human, taking care of yourself in all wellness.
Yes.
And I'm going to turn it back.
Thank you. I guess you guys don't need me. I should probably we can stop now. Everybody knows what self-care is. I'm joking. Okay. I'm big on infographics, so bear with me. So this one spoke to me, so I threw it in the presentation. So this is what people think self-care is, and then what it actually is. So yeah, self-care is things like, being able to take a spa day and bubble baths. So like that indulgent piece. But also people don't realize that self-care is also being able to say no, set boundaries, take a break, going to therapy, asking for what you need. Also sleep is big. So I like to think of it as like indulging in pleasure versus truly taking care of yourself. These things about like indulging in pleasure. These are like just, things that we really have to set time for a lot of the times, right? Those bubble baths or those face masks, or those shopping trips. But truly taking care of yourself involves a lot more. So I want you to broaden your definition of self-care when you start to thinking about doing things for yourself. So real self-care is about taking care of your mental, emotional, spiritual, and physical needs. So now let's jump into burnout. Okay, so like, what is burnout? I know many of us have felt it, especially in this field. Most of us, there's times that we go through burnout, but let's define it. What's the definition? So it's the state of physical, mental, and emotional exhaustion resulting from prolonged stress in the workplace. And I highlighted the prolonged stress portion of it, okay? And I'll touch on it later on, but I want you to like really emphasize. So it's the prolonged stress in the workplace. It involves feelings of cynicism, mistrust, and reduced personal accomplishment and motivation. It can make you feel like stuck and hopeless. So stress, it's a response to threat, which means in your workplace, you're feeling some sense of threat. Something's threatening you, too much work. The patients might feel threatening. Your boss might feel threatening. But it's that prolonged stress in the workplace. And we're going to work on like how to manage our responses to threat as we go along. I like this infographic, so I threw it in there. So they talk about like stress versus burnout. So with stress, you put in too much effort. With burnout, it's hard to put in any effort. With stress, you feel emotions more strongly. With burnout, you feel your emotions feel blunted. I don't want to go through all of them, but you'll have this presentation to look at this further. And I really loved this quote, so I threw it in there, from Laura Wally. Burnout is an opportunity to reprioritize yourself. So I hope this presentation helps you to think about like how you can start reprioritizing yourself. So there's another condition in our profession in working in mental health. So it's a condition known as secondary traumatic stress. Sometimes people refer to it as vicarious traumatization. And that is the physical and emotional stress response to others' extreme or traumatic events. So many of our clients that we serve, or many of the patients you serve, have gone through a lot of traumatic events. And those traumatic events can start to take a toll on us by listening to the stories, by worrying about our clients. And that's where secondary traumatic stress comes in. So it's a state of tension and preoccupation with the stories and traumas of your clients. And it could have a cumulative, long-lasting impact on workers' personal beliefs and their worldview. And it's similar to post-traumatic stress disorder, and it can even lead to PTSD. So what contributes to burnout and secondary traumatic stress? Work conditions can definitely contribute to burnout and secondary traumatic stress. So not having enough staff, large caseloads, excessive paperwork, rigid work conditions, high employee turnover rates, low wages, and probably many other work conditions can contribute to this. So this is where I'm saying that, you do your self-care and it magically goes away. No, these things will contribute to it. So when you're doing self-care, it can help us manage some of these things, but it's not going to just magically take your stress away. Organizational issues, not addressing the pervasive nature of client traumas, inadequate restorative supervision versus punitive supervision, culture and policies that do not support a trauma-informed care environment. Also the climate of the agency and many other things at the organizational level. Client issues. So if clients are chronically in crisis, they're having suicidality, multiple problems, anger issues, chronic illnesses. These all can contribute to secondary traumatic stress on us. Also, if you're working in isolation or inadequate social support at work, and even going home without having enough social support can contribute to burnout and secondary traumatic stress. And personal life issues can also do the same. So we have an anonymous poll, so it's anonymous. So Jen, can you put that one up?
This one was the chat box, Giovanna.
Oh, okay, then we're going to move on because I don't have it. What kinds of job responsibilities and or work conditions do you feel stress or burn you out? So you can put that in the chat box. Let's do that one. So what kinds of job responsibilities and or work conditions do you feel stress or burn you out? So we've talked about a lot of these. So I wanted to normalize them. So does any of these capture it, or are there other ones you want to add? So what kinds of job responsibilities and or work conditions do you feel stress or burn you out?
So we're seeing low control over work demands,
Yes.
schedules for my team,
Yes.
doing work outside of our job titles,
Yeah.
for folks who have to, for folks who already have quit or are on leave,
Mhm.
turnover, dangerous work conditions, being
Yeah.
asked to complete tasks that are new or unfamiliar,
Yeah.
in a quick turnaround, constantly covering other people's tasks, lack of communication, incivility, not enough staffing, a system that contributes to the trauma of our clients. Yeah.
Yeah. Many of these things.
Feeling
I mean,
rushed.
yeah. I think we could all relate to these things. I mean, I've been burnt out in previous jobs, and many of the things you're just talking about has burnt me out. So I think we can all relate to these things, and why self-care is so important to being able to just manage some of the stress a little bit more. The other thing is I have one other question for you, an important one, because I want to advocate. How can leadership help? So what I'm hoping to do is maybe create a presentation for leadership on how to help employees. But I need to hear from the employees. So I thought this was a good opportunity. Like, what do you want to tell leadership on how they can help? And then maybe I can put this in a new presentation. This is what I'm thinking off the top of my head.
So we're seeing increased communication. Administration can be less reactive, less crisis driven, improve communication, empathy, be more present, dedicate more time educating your staff on what you need them to complete, be available. Leaders need to allow for self-care within the workplace as well as
I like
model.
that.
That's a good one.
Yes, that's a really good one.
Being-
If you want to give more details, give me more details too.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Being more supportive, being proactive and reactive, having boundaries, training staff well, modeling what needs to be done.
Okay. Anything else that you would like me to put in a presentation for leadership?
Okay, got
what
one
else do
more.
you want them to know?
Administration can be more present on units and try to understand the work responsibilities of all levels of staff and try to understand what is burning staff out.
Yes. Yeah, really understanding like frontline staff and what is burning them out. I like that idea. Anything else you want me to put in a presentation for leadership?
I'm seeing compensation that matches the workload.
That would be
Upper supervisory staff need to be available and willing to answer questions, provide available resources as needed. And that's what we got.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, feel free to keep putting any details in the chat. Yeah, good details. And then I can try to maybe make a presentation for leadership on this. All right, so we talked about burnout and we talked about secondary traumatic stress. At the end of this presentation, I'm going to have you all have the opportunity to do an online assessment and know about your scores for burnout, for secondary traumatic stress. And then there's another term called compassion satisfaction. So how satisfied do you feel about the work that you do? And it's called the professional quality of life scale, also known as a ProQOL, okay? This will be given to you at the end of the presentation, and you'll be able to take it online. One thing I wanted to stress is this is a wonderful tool to kind of take your pulse when you're starting to get burnt out, when you're starting to have like high stress. You can easily just take this tool and see like results right away on like what your burnout score is, what your secondary traumatic stress score is, how much you feel satisfied with your job. So, you know, it can change day to day, it can change week to week, it can change month to month. But this tool will allow you to say, I need to reprioritize self-care, or my self-care options are not really working right now. You know, I'm going to have to look into more. I might need more options. The other thing is, it's a great tool for supervisors to use, maybe in like group meetings or in supervision. I wouldn't have them share their scores, but give them the opportunity to take it and then discuss self-care with your employees. So the people you're supervising, you can allow, you know, maybe 5 minutes to take this assessment and then discuss, you know, self-care options with them. I hope this is something you can take away from this presentation, the supervisors. So this is somewhat what it's going to look like, the printout. So once you take the assessment, it's about 30 questions. It's very quick. 30 questions probably takes you about maybe 3 or 4 minutes. You're going to get, right after you take the one online, you will get a printout. And it's going to have a score for compassion, satisfaction, burnout, and secondary traumatic stress. And it'll tell you a little bit more about it. I think the online version will give you like a lot more explanation than just this. But I wanted you to know like what it's about, so that you don't go in there and say, you know, blindly, like, you know, that this is not something I want to try. I suggest everybody just try it once. On the online version, you do not have to record any like of your personal information. There's different buttons if you want to save it or you don't want to save it, things like that. Or if you want it sent to email or you want to get the results right away and not have it sent to email. So just know that you can be anonymous in it. Okay, so let's jump in. So what are some self-care precautions you can take at work? First thing, please don't judge your feelings. It's normal to feel stressed out, anxious, scared, overwhelmed. These are normal feelings to stress. So that's the first thing, is don't judge yourself for having it. The second thing is, it's really helpful to identify your personal signs of burnout. And I'm going to give you that opportunity at the end of this presentation. I'm going to give you a self-care plan. And in the self-care plan, the very first page of the self-care plan is you identifying your personal signs of burnout just by checking off boxes. So there's a whole list of different signs of burnout. Feel free to use this with your employees or the people that you supervise. It's helpful. Another thing is schedule regular workday breaks and try to get fresh air. If you can't go outside, even if you could just open a window for a few seconds, fresh air helps us to just reset, and we're going to jump into this, our autonomic nervous system. And that's what's going to help us to really calm down and just de-stress maybe 10%, just that breath of air. Another really important thing is to ask supervisors to prioritize assigned tasks. And this came to me a while back, a very long time ago, probably maybe 10 years ago. I was, you know, doing a lot of different things, doing, you know, I had a couple of supervisors, and I said, you know, this is like becoming really overwhelming right now. I have 10 tasks right now coming at me in the past 2 days, and I'm thinking I have to do all of them at once, you know? So I asked my supervisor, I said, look, which things do you need done today? Like by the end of the day, what do you need tomorrow? And what can wait till the end of the week? And so that's what prioritizing tasks are, is to really ask your supervisor to say like, okay, I have these 5 things right now. What can be done today? What can be done tomorrow? And it gives you a little bit more control over your workload. So I encourage you to ask your supervisors to prioritize tasks. And we're going to talk about supervisors, what you can do in the next slide. Also, ask for help before you begin to feel overwhelmed. A lot of us are like, yes, I can do this. It's fine. I don't need help. If I ask for help, I'm going to be like feeling needy or something like that. It's okay. We should be able to lean on our colleagues if you are feeling really overwhelmed. So lean on your coworkers and supervisors for support and guidance. I mean, I do it all the time. And also don't be afraid to establish personal boundaries. Okay. A lot of us in the field, we want to help and, we don't want to say no to anything. We want to be available at all times. That's going to lead to burnout. So really think about what your personal boundaries are at work and probably also in your, everyday life, because that's going to help you to prevent burnout, vicarious traumatization, just unneeded stress. Okay. How can supervisors better support staff? Okay. Here's some lists. So if you are taking this training or webinar and you have a supervisor, feel free to share this with your supervisor. Engage in restorative or supportive supervision versus punitive. So if you're supervising your staff, often, we go into a supervision and we get told like what we did wrong, right? But sometimes it's helpful to also look at, what things your staff are doing right. Let them voice, if they're having any problems, how you can help them. Like bring a sense of restoration to your the staff that you supervise. And I think my boss, Tom, he might be on here. He does do trainings on like restorative and supportive supervision if you want more information on that, if you are a supervisor. One thing, we just talked about it, is help your staff prioritize their assigned works. So assigned tasks. So prioritize those tasks. So if you're giving them a list of things, or over the past few days, you've asked your staff member to do several things, stop and say, look, I know that I've given you a lot of things in the past 3 days. This is what I need you to do by the end of today. This can wait till the end of the week. So really start to think about like when you're asking your staff to do things, and then start to prioritize. Regularly ask workers what management can do to better improve job performance and job satisfaction, and then bring that up to the leadership level. And if you have any power or control, see if you can, manage to do some of those things. Use self-care strategies with your staff at the beginning of a meeting. We did a supervision at Trenton Psychiatric Hospital. We were doing these supervisions over a trauma, course that we were doing with patients. And during supervision, we would start off with some kind of engaging self-care strategy. And it was very restorative to the staff that were participating in it. I participated in it. My boss, Tom, participated in it. And everybody would have like a day that they would bring in something that was like restorative. And we did many things, including aromatherapy. The art therapists would bring in like art exercises. And it was also a way to just get to know your staff better. So that's one thing you can do for staff and support them. Ensure and encourage staff to take their breaks and protect their time. So we're telling staff to protect their time, but it would also be helpful for supervisors to support staff in protecting their time. Help them to identify their personal signs of burnout and encourage self-monitoring. So that's another thing you can do. So give them the opportunity to create a self-care plan. At the end of this presentation, I'm going to be giving you one. Check in and ask if they need help before they begin to feel overwhelmed. So check in with your staff, see how they're doing. Promote peer support. So promote it. Validate workers' feelings and identify ways to address them. So it's not just listening. I mean, validation is great, but really try to work with ways to address them. And I know this is a dream, but for some places we do have things like this. Advocate for restorative break rooms. And in these restorative break rooms, you probably want to identify, target the 5 senses. So sound machines, aromatherapy, soothing music, comfortable chairs, if possible, some coffee or tea or water, snacks. Okay. How stress affects our autonomic nervous system. So remember, that burnout and that vicarious traumatization, it's because of that prolonged stress in the work environment. So we are picking up threats in our environment. And when you pick up threats in our environment, it affects our autonomic nervous system. I'm going to quickly go through this, but I think you're going to find this interesting, so bear with me. So our autonomic nervous system, it runs along our spine. So it's along our spine. And there's 2 parts to the autonomic nervous system. First part is the sympathetic nervous system. So that's what gets us ready to fight and flee, okay? This is the part that activates when we're in times of stress, okay? Think about it as our gas pedal. It's getting us to, it's revving us up, it gets us going, right? So your heart's pounding, maybe you're sweating a little bit. Usually when that part of the nervous system is on, you have a hard time thinking. Why? Because it's preparing us for danger. And hormones are rushing through our system, cortisol, adrenaline is running. So if you're in a high stress environment, your sympathetic nervous system may be on more than the other part of our nervous system, which I'm going to get to. But just remember that in times of stress, our sympathetic nervous system is turned on. So if you're in a high stress environment, you're probably having a lot of sympathetic activation, which is your gas pedal, okay? And it's great for short-term things, but you do not want to be in a chronic state of being in sympathetic mode, in that gas pedal state. We have another part of our nervous system called the parasympathetic nervous system. I like to think about this as our brake. It's what makes us feel calm, cool, in control. It also helps us to deal with other things like digestion, waste elimination, and many other things. So this parasympathetic nervous system, there's ways to actually activate it. So we can hack this parasympathetic nervous system and make us feel a little bit more in control. Because when we have our brake on, we feel calmer. We feel like we can think. We feel like we're in control. We can also socialize. So if you're in a chronic sympathetic nervous system state, so if your gas pedal is chronically on, it's actually hard to even socialize. So it makes it harder to even talk with our colleagues when you're in that sympathetic state. So think about those times that you're always stressed out. It's hard to think, we feel like our bodies are constantly going. You can get aggravated very quickly with colleagues. So that's telling you that your sympathetic nervous system is turned on. And we kind of need our brake to turn on that parasympathetic nervous system. And so I'm going to teach you ways to turn on that parasympathetic nervous system. The other thing I just wanted to say is these systems control homeostasis in our bodies. So it balances. We do need both systems, especially in times of danger, but you just don't want to be in a chronic state of that gas pedal being turned on. Okay, so here's some quick and immediate coping strategies. And somebody mentioned this in the very beginning of the presentation, breathing. Oh, wait. Okay, so really interesting and cool. Okay, so when you breathe in, your sympathetic nervous system turns on. So that's our gas pedal. Our breath in turns the sympathetic nervous system on. When you breathe out, your parasympathetic nervous system turns on. That's our brake, okay? So the easiest thing to do to make our bodies a little bit more in control is using our breath. And the breath out is what helps you feel cool, calm, and in control. That's what turns on the brake. So sometimes people tell me that breathing exercises do not work. It's because we're doing it wrong. We're focusing on our breath in. Take a deep breath in. Okay, that's turning on your sympathetic nervous system. We don't want to do that. We want to turn on the parasympathetic nervous system. So you want to have that longer exhale out. Just wanted to throw that trivia in there for you guys. Okay. So I I put this quick and immediate coping strategies into 3 categories. So there's relaxing activities, there's physical activities, and then most importantly, we need social support. So here's some quick relaxing activities. So a breathing exercise to help us calm our nervous system. Taking a brief break and going into nature actually activates the parasympathetic nervous system. Guided imagery, meditation apps, aromatherapy. These relaxing activities can quickly turn on your parasympathetic nervous system. Physical activities, a 10-minute walk, even a 5-minute walk can help. Progressive muscle relaxation. If you Google progressive muscle relaxation, there's scripts that you can easily do. What I found interesting on this list was gum chewing. There is literature that chewing gum can actually help us to manage stress a little bit better. Remember, these things are not going to take away and magically make everything go away. It's just going to help you feel a little bit more calm, a little more in control. It can turn on that part of our brain that we need to think and socialize. And then social support. So we have to pick the right social support, right? There's some people that are just going to stress you out. So you need to know who you can vent to and who is supportive, okay? And you need to know people in your personal life and then also in your work environment. Is there someone that you can go to easily for social support? And yes, all of these activities turn on that body's brake, which is the parasympathetic nervous system. So in the chat box, can you drop what are some quick coping strategies you use that are not on this list? Or you know what, even on this list, what have you found helpful in helping turn on that parasympathetic nervous system, that brake? What has helped you to feel a little bit more like less stressed, more in control, more calm? So put that in the chat.
We have talking to mentors.
Yes.
Whoopee. Thanks, Tom. Making and drinking tea.
Yes.
Breathing or quick meditation, a tapping exercise, which you have a video of that you guys will get to.
EFT tapping. Yeah.
Time with my dog. Yes, me too. Running, hiking, swimming, interacting with friends. I'm the gum chewer. Breathing, music, chocolate.
Oh, chocolate. Yes, I'm chocolate too. Gum chewer and chocolate.
Country dancing, doing an activity you love. That's great.
Yes.
Exercise.
There's, as you guys are saying that, it just like popped into my head. I do this activity with my class where we stand up and we just shake it off. That resets your nervous system too. So it's like really quick things that can reset our nervous system and turn that parasympathetic nervous system, our brake, back on.
Dawn said singing horribly alone in my apartment.
Oh yes, and I sing horribly.
Sorry, I didn't want that to sound as sad as it came out. It's actually a lot of fun.
It is. I actually do it in my car, so people are just looking at me and I'm just
hiking
away. It's fun. Okay,
good answers.
I'm gonna go on because I know I only have 20 minutes, and I could probably talk all day about this stuff. So, okay. So there is a breathing exercise to ground us. So one interesting thing is placement of your hands on your heart can actually activate that parasympathetic nervous system. So that's one thing. But we're going to jump in. So just the thing I want you to focus on is you have to have a longer breath out to activate that parasympathetic nervous system, which is our brake. Okay, just a longer breath out. So this is the exercise, and we're only going to do it for like 20 seconds. So let's hope that this will help a little bit. All right, so turn your volume completely up. And what we're going to do is when the heart comes towards us, you're going to breathe in. And when the heart goes away from us, you're going to blow it away, like you're breathing through a strong out. And I want you to focus on your breath out, like you're blowing it a little bit longer than the breath in. Okay, because why? We're trying to activate the parasympathetic nervous system. And I wanted to bring in a couple of the senses, so visual and then also audio. You'll hear a little bit of a sound with this. So let's see if it's playing. Can you guys hear it? Yes?
Can't hear it.
Oh, okay, well, that's great. Well, pretend like there's music. Okay, you should be able to see it.
Someone else can hear it. That's good. I
Cool.
can't.
Okay. All right, so it's going to come towards us. You're going to breathe in and it's going to move away from us. Breathe out. Breathe in and then breathe out. Let's do 5 more rounds. Okay, sorry, it just like stopped very quickly. One of the things for this breathing exercise that I have found helpful is like having some kind of visual stimuli can be helpful for us because some people don't like breathing exercises. So it kind of takes us out of our body and the focus on our breath can be with a visual. There's apps like Headspace that create these visual exercises. And there's a couple of other things. If you just Google breathing exercises with movement or, you know, breathing exercises, Headspace, sometimes you can find them on like free, you know, YouTube. Also, the 5 senses are really important for grounding us. It's something when we get stressed out, something in our environment, usually our 5 senses, something in the environment is picking up threat. And so using sensory tools to cope and regulate are helpful. So I'm encouraging you to think about it for yourself and for your clients. So these are a bunch. I just wanted to give you a bunch of different types of sensory tools to help you cope and regulate. For some people, they love it. For some people, they don't. That's why I want to give you several tools. So I actually gave you 20. So explore some of these. Explore some of these for yourself and for your clients. And yeah, one thing I wanted to ask you all is, what do you think about creating personalized sensory toolkits for yourself? And then also maybe toolkits for your clients to help you cope and regulate emotions. And when you create these toolkits, you really want to identify the 5 senses. Has anyone used any of these sensory tools or created toolkits for themselves or their clients? Put it in the chat. Anyone?
So I'm seeing yes. Tom, what's it? Oh, geez.
Comfort on wheel cart, comfort on wheels. I think
Comfort on Wheels? Is that at one of the hospitals?
That's the cow cart. I think that they may have had that at a couple of the facilities. And then I know that on some units, like the positive behavioral support unit, maybe the DBT unit, they were actually helping to create personalized
Great.
toolkits like this. I think, yeah, somebody mentioned OT assists with that process.
Great. And have you used it for yourself, any of these sensory tools, and have they helped? I love essential oils. What else? Fidget toys sometimes are fun. Definitely any kind of gum. I really like. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to chime in. I'm a fan of the essential oils and shoulder. There's weighted shoulder pads
Yes.
that help with, you know, if you get stressed, and what I do is my shoulders tend to come up the more stressed I am.
Yeah.
And the weighted shoulder pad kind of helps keep that pressure on there and hold those down. And then the weighted blankets, I think, are great for sleep.
Yeah. They even have weighted lap pads. Some people like the weight of a lap on your lap. That's why many people find like
it's like a cat sitting on your lap.
Dawn, I was just going there. I was going to say like a pet sitting on your lap.
A calm pet.
Yeah, hopefully. All right, let's move on. I would like to stay a little more and explore, but I know that we are on a time and I have 15 minutes left. All right, so I also wanted to talk about soothing self-care items you can bring to work. So I thought about these things and I'm like, okay, so what can we bring to work? Not everyone can bring these things to work, but if you have like a personal office, a lot of the times you can bring some of these things to work. Also, If you can't bring them into the work environment, I invite you to think about creating a little personal space in your car. And maybe have a couple of these items in your car. And before you start to work, you can use it. If you're really needing a break or at your lunchtime, instead of sitting at your desk, go out to your car and use some of these items. Yeah, it's like a little respite place if you don't have a personal office. Let me see, what was I gonna say? Oh, some of these things are really cool, like sensory rings. They're like rings you could put on your finger and they like twirl and stuff like that. Aromatherapy necklace, literally like it's a little necklace that you put around your neck, and there's like aromatherapy. You could put your own essential oils in it. There's this breathing pendant that helps you to breathe, that you just blow through, kind of like a breathing exercise. Calm Me Go is a smart calming device that helps to train you for breathing. Yeah, there's many things. So feel free to look through this and get inspired and try it. Also, if there are some things on here that you can, bring to your clients, advocate for that. Also, I think it's important to talk about practical self-care ideas. So some practical things: creating to-do lists, establishing routines, holding yourself accountable to your self-care, setting personal boundaries and saying no, creating budgets, cleaning and organizing. I know, like, even just cleaning up my desktop on my computer can make me feel a little bit more calm and in control. I'm also the type to set up alerts on my phone. That makes me feel a little bit in control and know that I'm not going to forget something. So these are all practical self-care ideas that we need to feel a little bit more calm and in control of, our work and personal life.
Giovanna, before you move on, I just got a message came through that was just to host and panelists, so I want to make sure everyone hears it.
Okay.
Someone said that for administration, our work environments also contribute to our burnout. Most of us in Trenton Psychiatric Hospital in particular share offices and aren't provided with headphones or other tools that would help decrease sensory overload. So that's a really important thing. Like sometimes you can do certain things to control your environment, and other times you're really not provided with the materials or the tools that you can do that. So what do you do with that?
I think we should bring this up to administration and maybe create some kind of a presentation on this. So yeah, put these good ideas on there and we can bring this to administration, and also like maybe create a training around it. Okay, let's define self-compassion. Self-compassion is the ability to notice our own suffering and to be moved by it. So making us want to actively do something to alleviate our own suffering. I think a lot of us struggle with self-compassion, and I think it's important to talk about, especially for self-care. So I wanted to do a quick self-compassion exercise. And this exercise, it comes from Linda Graham, and it's from this thing called Tools to Help Clients Calm Their Anxiety. So not just clients, but all of us. So I invite everyone to just try this, is to put your hand on your heart. Put your hand on your heart and just say to yourself, you don't have to say it out loud, but say, and especially in the times that you're really stressed out, may I be kind to myself in this moment. So, and really feel it, like really feel it in your heart. May I be kind to myself in this moment. So I invite you to really try this out, especially when you're struggling with extreme stress. The other thing you can do that's helpful, and well, some of us, I can't say everyone, but many of us have someone that you feel safe with, whether it be, someone in another state, another country, maybe someone that passed, but there are people that you feel safe with. You can place your hand on your heart and think about that person and allow that to bring some self-compassion to you too. Maybe say, think about that person and then say, may I be kind to myself in this moment. I know you think that this probably doesn't work. It does work. If you practice it, it can work. Not for everyone, but it can work. So give it a try. Okay, let's examine self-compassion. There's 3 interrelated elements. 1 is being kind and understanding towards yourself rather than judgments or criticism. 2 is seeing your shortcomings as normal. rather than like isolating in shame. And number three, try not to ruminate on or ignore painful thoughts or feelings, okay? You can acknowledge it and accept those painful thoughts or feelings, but you still want to be connected to what's important to you in the present moment. And we're going to be giving you some self-compassion tests and a self-compassion guide. Okay, it'll come to you at the end of the presentation. I also wanted to talk about like what resilience is. So it's the process of adapting well in the face of adversity, trauma, tragedy, threats, or significant sources of stress. Okay, that's from the APA. So it's not just about your ability to bounce back, okay, but also the opportunity for profound personal growth. I liked that. So let's do a quick word cloud activity. We have a few minutes. So what helps you to be resilient during difficult times? Please put it in the word cloud. Jen, you're going to drop that. Oh, I think I needed to press something. Sorry.
That's okay. I got it. So you can scan the QR code to get to the word cloud, or I will drop a link in the chat box and you can access it there. But you should be able to see the results coming live. So what helps you to be resilient during difficult times? I'm seeing being with friends, support, exercise, faith, family, talking to my spouse. I'm going to let that just run for a few minutes, for a minute or so, Giovanna, and then you can take over.
Thank you.
But can everyone see the responses coming in? Okay,
yep, we can see it. Thank you, Jen. I
Sure.
needed to press my slide one extra time.
Gotcha.
So the bigger the words, the more people are saying it. So I'm seeing support a little bigger, and faith. Getting enough sleep, I like that. Yoga, something I do all the time. Step away from the stressor, that's an important one. Bestie, being with friends. These are all great ways of being resilient during these difficult times. Remembering my triumphs, yes, really important. Therapy is really important. Oh, I love all of these. I love them. And so I think creating this word cloud is actually inspirational and giving ideas to your colleagues right now, to the people that are on this webinar. These are things that help people to be resilient during difficult times. Music, love that. Sharing, yeah. Rest. Dance. Friends, kind to myself. Yes, the self-compassion, being kind to yourself. How are we doing with time?
We
Exercise.
have 6 minutes.
Okay. Can I take over the presentation? We will, if you want to keep putting this in, we are going to give you this word cloud at the end of the presentation anyway. So
it'll be in the training evaluation. Yes. Okay, take over.
Okay. Got it. Okay, well, there goes the QR code. Sorry about that. Okay, so there's 4 elements of resiliency, okay? So resilient people are confident, they have social supports, adaptability, and purposefulness, okay? This is coming from a research study. So those are the 4 elements of resiliency. And let's talk about 4 ways to build resiliency during difficult times. The first way, practice self-care daily. So it's not something we do when we're just stressed out. It's something we do to prevent some stress from happening, okay? Second one is practice self-compassion regularly, okay? So these are the ways to build resilience. Practice self-care, practice self-compassion. So remember, we just practiced that. May I be kind to myself in this moment, okay? We have many other ways, and I just gave you a few. Number 3, nurture a hopeful outlook, okay? So we have to accept change is part of life, right? Things are always changing in our lives. I think it's important to practice gratitude. Sometimes we have to reconnect with our values. And don't forget to acknowledge and celebrate the positive changes that have resulted from the difficult times in our lives. Sometimes there are positives that come out of these difficult challenges that we go through. Fourth, and most importantly, is we really do need social support. As humans, we are social creatures. We can't work in isolation, okay? So you want to surround yourself with supportive people and don't feel shame for asking for help, okay? But it has to be safe people, right? You can have those people that are going to stress you out. Obviously, don't go for them. Go to them. And if you have too many people that stress you out, I encourage you to look for the people that are going to support you. Okay, so I did want to go over quickly that professional quality of life assessment, the one that I went through that measures burnout, vicarious traumatization, and compassion satisfaction. If you scan the QR code, it will bring you to it on your phone. If not, we can put the link. Well, at the end, the link is going to be available to you, I think, after you complete the survey. If Jen wants to put it in the chat right now, she can put it in the chat and you can copy it and, put it into your computer, or you can just scan it on your phone, okay? So I'll give everybody a second to do that. And to scan it, all you have to do is move to your cameras, put your camera there, and it will come up, and you just press on it. Okay.
I also dropped the link in the chat box, but
Cool.
You'll also get in the training evaluation a list, a whole handout of resources and links that we use today.
We're not going to have time to create the self-care plan, but you will get it. You'll get the document. Please look through it, at least do the first page so you can identify some of your signs of burnout. I wish this webinar was like an hour and a half and then we would have that time, but we're going to work with what we have. So the resources,
we have 2 minutes.
Okay, I'm at the end. The resources I have for you that you're going to get at the end of at the end when you fill out your survey, you'll get self-care items for work, your self-care plan assessment. What else? Identifying social supports. Oh, there's a self-care assessment and then the self-care plan. So the self-care plan I created, and then there's a self-care assessment tool. I created a tool called sleep hygiene. And then there's another tool called identifying social supports. And then the ProQOL, that's the professional quality of life. You're going to have that link unless you have it now. And then 3 resiliency exercises for helping professionals. I'm going to include that as well. So those are the resources. If you have questions, you can contact me right here. Here's my email. I gave a little time for discussion. I'm not really sure if we have it. There's a training eval. Jen and Dawn, what would you like to go over right now, since we only have a minute left? And any questions from anybody?
I was going to say
we have 2 minutes to take a question or two, but
okay,
that's it.
Go for it. Any questions, comments?
While you're thinking of any comments or questions, I did in the chat box put a link to the training evaluation that'll give you access to the slides, handouts, the resources, and a certificate of attendance. If you don't have time to do that before you leave work today, we will send a follow-up email in the morning with all of that information as well. And I don't see any questions coming in. So I want to be respectful of everyone's time then and say thank you so much for joining us today. Giovanna, thank you so much for the presentation. It was so informative. And I know the list of resources that you created for everyone that's available in the training evaluation is extensive and really, really worth taking a look at. So please check that out. Someone said I needed this. Thank you so much. We all need this. So thank you all for coming today. Thank you, Giovanna, for your presentation, and we will see you all next month in February.
Bye, everyone.
Guys, bye-bye.